Um, I think there is a need for us to have the global picture or the international perspective before going into specific detail about the topics or the questions that have been asked to us as speakers. So let's get started. The purpose of this is basically to give some kind of background about what the topic here. So if you look at this slide, actually it represents, it is actually a global data protection map. So we see blue color represent countries around the world which have enacted comprehensive legislation. The key word is comprehensive legislation. So we are not talking about specific sector legislation. So you can see from here, most of the countries around the world are represented by blue color. And among the newcomers are, of course, as mentioned by Mr. David just now, Brunei. In this part of the world, Brunei just enacted the law in January, and I was there 2 days ago for some kind of engagement. You see here, and Vietnam as well, okay? So most of the countries of the world are represented, as I said, by blue color, meaning that they have enacted comprehensive legislation on data protection. Let's go to ASEAN. Malaysia was the first to have this law back in 2010, and I was fortunate to be given the opportunity to assist the Malaysian government to come up with this law, and then followed by Singapore, followed by the Philippines, and then Thailand, Indonesia. I was involved in helping up the government of Indonesia as well. And then Vietnam, in January, came up with a law on data protection. Again, it's going to be enforced next year, just like Brunei. And yes. Let's do some very brief comparative analysis of the laws around the world, especially ASEAN, and perhaps try to compare it with the EU GDPR. Yeah? So data protection principle in all the legislations, including Brunei, Malaysia, Vietnam, provide for that, either directly or indirectly. In Malaysia, for example, the principles are explicitly mentioned, like general principle, disclosure principle. In Indonesia, it doesn't specifically mention principle, but, you know, throughout the Act, you can see security principle, disclosure principle, and so on. Rights of data subject, all the countries provide for rights of data subjects, meaning that individuals are given certain rights in relation to their personal data. Exemption to public agencies, Malaysia, Singapore, and Brunei. The laws in those countries provide exemption for certain reasons. In Singapore, there is a separate regime for public sector. In Brunei as well, there is a separate law governing public sector. Mandatory data breach notification to data subject. Vietnam doesn't have that. Yeah? Hong Kong encourage this requirement, or meaning that, you know, if there is a breach, then data subject will have to be informed. As I said, it's encouraged by the Privacy Commissioner. Mandatory reporting to the authority, again, Taiwan doesn't have that. Hong Kong encourages that. And then sensitive data and personal data, Brunei doesn't have that. Singapore doesn't have that. DPO, most of the countries, except Taiwan and Hong Kong, do not have that. And then registration, this is very interesting. It's peculiar to Malaysia. In Malaysia, certain organizations are required to register as data controllers. For example, if you are in the banking sector, insurance sector, you have to be registered as users. What is the rationale? The rationale being you are supposed to be companies collecting huge amount of data, or the quantum is large. Yeah? Civil and criminal remedies, all the countries all the countries provide for that except Malaysia. In Malaysia, if you suffer damage because of the breach of the law, you cannot bring actions against the company and claim for compensation. So what is the remedy then? The remedies are in the form of criminal prosecution. That is a position in Malaysia. DPRA, Brunei doesn't have that. And I think Singapore encourages this, encourages DPRA or companies to do DPRA in certain circumstances. Similarly, that is a position in Hong Kong as well. I think our friend from Singapore should be able to tell us about this survey done, about the awareness, compliance, everything. Interestingly, there was a research done by or survey done by the NPC of the Philippines about awareness on the data privacy of the Philippines. You see here, one of the findings is that majority do not know the terms NPC and data subject. Similarly, if you look at this, there is low familiarity across data privacy term, and with 1 in 4 who are aware of the Data Privacy Act 2012 of the Philippines. I'll go quickly. Yeah? Knowledge and attitudes on data privacy. Data privacy is a fundamental right for the majority, allowing us to better harm on interest and educate the public. This is Malaysia. In general, less than 50% of the respondents are aware of the PDPA. Imagine, this is after more than a decade. So I'm sure there are lessons to be learned here. Overall, 55% of the respondents are aware that there is some sort of law protecting the personal data in Malaysia. Okay, you can see here, heard about PDPA, only 43%. Awareness on the rights provided for in the PDPA, only 51%. Assessing PDPA effectiveness, only 29% says PDPA is strong enough to protect the data. Again, there are lessons to be learned. Less than 50% of respondents mentioned that they have heard about the PDPA 2010. So this is the research that I've conducted 2 years ago involving 2,500 respondents in Malaysia, throughout Malaysia. Awareness on the rights under the PDPA is about 51% have knowledge of their rights under PDPA 2010. There are lessons to be learned. So I'll stop there. Perhaps we can take questions, if there are questions.